The day had started like any other on the desert trade world of Daram 5. The sun was a blazing orange disk that hung low over the horizon, throwing long shadows across the sand-colored housing blocks where aliens of all shapes and sizes lived together. The human, Jadden Harrow, was carrying his usual pack of tools and devices as he walked along the narrow corridor of his building. The complex was crowded and noisy, with alien chatter, the hum of energy lines, and the distant roar of sand turbines filling the air. Humans were rare here, and Jadden had learned long ago that blending in required keeping a low profile. He reached his unit door and fumbled with his keys. His neighbors, a family of six-legged Draxils, eyed him with polite curiosity. He nodded at them, hoping they would see him as just another tenant and not the strange, unpredictable human he truly was. The key clicked, and he pushed the door open, stepping inside his small but functional apartment. Jadden had barely set down his pack when there was a sharp knock on the door. He turned, surprised. Visitors were uncommon. Another knock came, louder this time, followed by a voice that made his stomach tighten. "Human, why do you have a mini Shai-Hulud between your legs?" Jadden blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. He looked down at the device strapped to his waist, a small, cylindrical gadget with blinking lights and delicate sensors. To him, it was just his personal survival tool designed to detect vibrations, measure air toxins, and analyze ground density. But apparently to Mavara, it looked dangerously like a miniature sand god, a creature revered and feared across the desert worlds. I don't know what you mean," Jadden said carefully. "It's just a device. It helps me survive in harsh environments." "You cannot keep a Shai-Hulud in a residential complex. Do you understand the law?" She stepped into the apartment without waiting for an invitation. "Do not try to explain with your human excuses. The legends say that a single sand god can destroy entire colonies. If you are hiding even a juvenile, you could be responsible for death and chaos." "Watch," he reached down and pressed a button on the device. A soft hum filled the room, followed by a holographic readout of vibrations in the building's structure. "See, nothing alive, just ground movement sensors. I built it myself. It's meant to save lives, not harm anyone." Sensors or not, humans are always unpredictable. In his world, humans carried personal tools and devices for survival all the time. It was normal. But here, on a planet where sand gods were not just myths but sacred and dangerous creatures, a small, moving device could trigger panic. Mavara turned to him, her multiple eyes wide with fear and anger. "Do not touch it again. Security will come and you will explain yourself." "Now." The first drone arrived quickly, hovering silently in the corridor before its lights scanned the hallway. Mavara waved them in, pointing at Jadden. The drone's voice was calm, mechanical, and heavily accented. "Resident human, alleged possession of a juvenile Shai-Hulud. Please comply for inspection." "You can inspect it. Resident must still explain purpose for safety protocol compliance." "That's all. It is not alive, it cannot reproduce, and it is not sacred. I can demonstrate its functions if you wish." Lights flashed, and a soft series of beeps indicated the detection of ground vibrations in the building. He pointed to the holographic display. "See, this is the data it collects. I can measure tremors, small shifts in the sand beneath the city, even gas levels. It warns me and anyone nearby if there is danger. That is the only purpose. I will report this incident, and the authorities may investigate further." Legends are not to be ignored. In a world where humans were already viewed as unpredictable and sometimes reckless, even a harmless device could spark suspicion. He glanced at his mini Shai-Hulud sensor, now quietly humming at his waist. The small device had saved him from accusation this time, but it also reminded him of something deeper. Humans survived because they anticipated danger and acted before it became a threat. They did not wait for others to save them. That instinct, that foresight, was something most aliens did not understand. Jadden began preparing for the possibility that the authorities would visit soon. He ran through a checklist in his mind. Make sure the device was properly secured, gather documentation of its functions, and prepare a clear demonstration if needed. Humans thrived on readiness, and he would not be caught unprepared. As he worked, he noticed something in the readings from the device, a slight vibration beneath the building that did not match any normal activity. The building's structure shifted ever so slightly, and the air sensors indicated a trace of fine dust being displaced. He frowned. Could it be something moving underground? The device was designed to detect exactly this kind of activity. For a moment, he wondered if the coincidence was merely bad timing or if it was the start of something larger. Jadden moved to the window and looked out over the city. The dunes beyond the settlement were endless, waves of orange and gold stretching to the horizon. Sandstorms were common here, but the readings on his device suggested something more subtle. A rhythm in the ground, a heartbeat beneath the sand that was not a storm. He tightened his grip on the device and whispered to himself, "Stay calm, observe, react. That's what humans do." She had brought a small group of tenants, all of whom had been whispering rumors about the human and his supposed mini Shai-Hulud. "Explain the vibrations," she demanded. "Are you hiding something else? I want to monitor it in case it becomes dangerous. Perhaps humans have a way of seeing what others cannot." He returned to his device, watching the subtle movements in the sand beneath the city, and knew that this was only the beginning. Somewhere under the desert, something moved, and he would be ready, because humans always were. The morning after the incident, the complex was unusually quiet. Jadden Harrow had expected whispers, rumors, and even confrontation from curious or fearful neighbors, but there was a tense stillness instead. He moved through the corridor, his pack slung over his shoulder, device humming softly at his waist. The readout still showed subtle vibrations from beneath the building, a faint rhythm that suggested the desert world itself was alive in ways most tenants could not perceive. He paused outside his neighbor's door, where a pair of six-legged Draxils peeked at him. Their compound eyes narrowed, but this time not in accusation. One of them whispered something to the other in a low chitter, and both turned away quickly. Jadden didn't need translation to understand the meaning. Fear and curiosity were alive in every being here, and humans had a reputation for strangeness. He sighed, shaking his head. Adapting to alien prejudices was never easy, even for someone who had survived multiple hostile worlds. His thoughts were interrupted by a loud knock on his door. He opened it to see a small delegation from the building's security office, accompanied by Mavara. They were the kind of figures designed to make anyone feel small, tall, multi-eyed, armored in the reflective patterns of the planet's law enforcers. Their expressions were a mixture of suspicion and forced politeness. "Human," said the lead officer, a slender, blue-skinned alien named Raylock. "We have come to formally inspect your device. Reports have reached city authorities. You are required to demonstrate its functions and explain why you wear it in a residential area. It cannot harm anyone. Your device detects movements that our building sensors have not reported. Most sensors are calibrated for expected conditions, but this device anticipates danger, detects subtle signs that could indicate a collapse, a tremor, or even underground creatures moving. I built this device to warn me if anything moves near the surface. It's not alive, it's not sacred, it's just a tool." He didn't want to alarm them unnecessarily, but he also understood the value of proof. He activated the device's alert system, and a soft series of beeps filled the room. The holographic display shifted, highlighting a pattern of vibrations traveling beneath the building's foundations. "I am detecting a mass moving underground," he explained. "It is not threatening yet, but if it continues, it could affect the structure. My device predicts the movement path so people can evacuate safely. We plan for failure, we prepare for the worst, and we act before the danger becomes real. My device is one way of doing that. It is objective. If I'm wrong, the building will show signs in the next few minutes. If I'm right, people can evacuate safely. The choice is to trust data and act, or ignore it and risk everyone's safety. You rely on foresight, not just rules or warnings." Jadden quickly activated the device's alert mode, and the holographic display shifted, showing a distinct moving pattern beneath the complex. "The movement is accelerating," he said urgently. "It's larger than I thought. Everyone needs to evacuate now." Mavara barked orders, directing the evacuation, while Raylock and his team coordinated the drones. But it quickly became clear that the human's device was detecting something none of the building's sensors could. Jadden led the way, reading the vibrations and guiding the tenants to safe zones. The device projected safe corridors through the building, highlighting sections where the ground was stable. People followed, some hesitantly, others trusting the human instinctively. Seconds stretched into long minutes. The underground tremor grew stronger and the building groaned under the strain. Aliens who had once whispered about Jadden's mini Shai-Hulud now looked at him with a mix of awe and fear. Finally, the device detected a massive sand-dwelling creature moving beneath the city, a true desert monster, perhaps related to the legends Mavara had spoken of. Its size was formidable, but it was slow, massive, and predictable. The readings allowed Jadden to calculate the exact timing for structural shifts. "Keep moving," he shouted, guiding the last group of tenants to a reinforced section of the building. "It will hit the foundations in 10 seconds." No one was seriously injured, and the building's emergency system stabilized critical areas. When the tremor subsided, the city was quiet again. Tenants looked at each other, amazed and shaken. Jadden's device had saved them, predicting the movement of a creature that had eluded every official censor. Mavara approached him slowly, her expression unreadable. "Human, you were right. Your device, your instincts, saved lives today. Perhaps I was wrong to judge so quickly. Perhaps humans are not just unpredictable. Perhaps we can learn from them." The misunderstanding about the mini Shai-Hulud had escalated into a full-blown crisis, yet it had also revealed a truth about humanity. Their strength was not in size or power, but in foresight, planning, and adaptability. Later, when the building's maintenance drones inspected the foundations, they confirmed the creature had indeed passed beneath the complex. It was enormous but slow-moving, and without Jadden's guidance, the building could have suffered severe damage. Tenants whispered in admiration, and even those who had feared him before now treated him with a new respect. Mavara lingered near his door, watching him pack up his device. "Human, you carry strange things, but perhaps we should stop seeing them as threats. Perhaps they are lessons." Tenants began to murmur about human ingenuity, about their strange ways that somehow always worked when it mattered most. Jadden returned to his workbench, checking his device, running calibrations, and reviewing the vibration patterns recorded during the tremor. He knew that desert worlds were full of dangers no one could see, and humans had a habit of noticing the subtle signs others missed. The incident had not only saved lives, but also begun to shift perceptions. Aliens who had once seen humans as reckless and unpredictable now saw them as capable, resilient, and worth learning from. Jadden reflected on the irony. A misunderstanding had nearly caused trouble, yet it had also demonstrated why humans survived where others might fail. As night fell over the desert city, Jadden looked out at the endless dunes beyond the settlement. Somewhere out there, the massive sand-dwelling creature continued its slow journey beneath the sand. Thanks to human foresight, no one else had to suffer because of it, and that was something worth carrying forward. Humans survived because they expected danger, prepared for it, and acted decisively. That was the lesson he had taught today. And in a galaxy full of fear, superstition, and awe of legends, human pragmatism and ingenuity were starting to earn the respect they deserved. The day after the tremor, the city had not yet returned to normal. Buildings showed minor cracks, dust lingered in the streets, and the alien tenants moved cautiously, still whispering about the human who had predicted the disaster. Jadden Harrow moved through the corridors with quiet confidence, his device strapped securely at his waist, humming softly. Each step reminded him that survival wasn't just about avoiding danger. It was about noticing it before it arrived. He had been invited, though not officially, by several tenants to discuss what had happened. A small group of multi-limbed aliens gathered in a communal lounge, their expressions a mix of curiosity and caution. Jadden adjusted the device's readouts on the table, showing vibration patterns from beneath the building. "See," he said, pointing to the holographic projections, "these are movements from the sand beneath us. The tremor yesterday was minor, but the creature was enormous. Without monitoring, no one could have predicted its path. Humans build to notice things that might be dangerous before anyone else does. Shifts in the ground, gas leaks, even structural weaknesses in buildings. It's designed to give early warning so people can act. Other species often wait for systems or rules to tell them something is wrong. Humans act before the rules even matter. That is why we survive. That is why I was able to guide everyone yesterday." Its sensors were still picking up vibrations beneath the city, small tremors that could have gone unnoticed by anyone else. "I think," he continued, "that we are not finished. The movement yesterday may have been minor, but it could indicate a larger problem. The desert beneath the city is alive. Sand-dwelling creatures move slowly, but the ground itself shifts over time. Patterns build. And I can detect them before anyone else." Jadden's device displayed detailed projections, showing subtle vibrations moving in rhythm beneath the city. He explained how each type of movement correlated with different sizes of creatures or environmental shifts. Aliens who had once feared him now asked questions, eager to understand what humans had observed. By mid-afternoon, the delegation of building authorities arrived, including Raylock and a team of structural engineers. They had been briefed on the human's device and its capabilities. While some were skeptical, most were curious. Jadden demonstrated how the sensor worked, projecting holograms of past readings and explaining how patterns indicated movement beneath the building. Raylock's pupils focused intently. This is extraordinary. If humans can predict shifts in the environment that our advanced sensors miss, then perhaps we should consider incorporating human methods into city planning. Technology helps, but humans survive because we anticipate failure and prepare solutions in advance. It was the first time he had seen this creature move deliberately toward populated areas. "This is unusual," he muttered. "It could mean the creature is hunting or reacting to something above ground. Either way, it will affect the city if it continues." It moves slowly, but the city is built on shifting sand. Even a creature this size could damage structures if we are unprepared. Panic makes mistakes, but preparation saves lives. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the creature's approach became unmistakable. From the city's walls, a faint outline in the desert sand revealed the subtle rise and fall of its enormous body moving beneath the surface. Distant tremors shook the streets at regular intervals, and Jadden's device highlighted areas of high stress where buildings might fail. He led a team to a central plaza where temporary shelters had been set up. Tenants of every species gathered, murmuring anxiously. Jadden spoke calmly, showing them the holographic projections and explaining the creature's path. "Stay calm," he said. "The sensors detect its movement. Follow the safe routes. If we act together, we will all remain safe." She had learned to trust him. "You humans, you do not just survive, you lead." His predictions were precise, allowing engineers to reinforce key buildings and residents to remain in secure areas. At one point, a younger alien tenant panicked, running toward a cracked street. Jadden reacted instantly, grabbing her arm and guiding her to safety. "Humans survive because we see danger and act," he said softly. "You must trust the plan. You predicted the creature's movements and guided the city through the danger. We are impressed. We feared your device, your instincts. Now we see that humans are not reckless. You protect life, even when others do not understand your methods." Jadden's quiet vigilance and human foresight had demonstrated something more important than technology or strength: adaptability, intelligence, and the willingness to act decisively in the face of uncertainty. That night, as the city settled and dust settled over the buildings, Jadden reviewed the data from his device. Patterns of movement, pressure, and vibration were recorded and analyzed. He realized the sand creature had not been alone. Smaller movements suggested others were nearby, hidden beneath the dunes. His instincts told him that this was just the beginning of a larger challenge, one that would test not just his device, but his ability to predict and prepare. Still, he felt a quiet satisfaction. The human way of thinking had saved hundreds of lives. In a city full of fear and superstition, humans had shown that survival was not about reverence or strength. It was about anticipation, preparation, and action. As he powered down the device for the night, Mavara appeared once more at his doorway. She did not speak immediately, but her gaze was thoughtful. Finally, she said, Perhaps humans are not what we feared. Perhaps we have much to learn from you." The desert outside was quiet, but he knew that under the dunes, life moved in ways few could predict. And that was exactly why humans, with their foresight and ingenuity, would endure. The night was long, the desert silent, and the city resting. But humans had already begun their watch, eyes open, minds alert, ready to act. The morning after the sand creature's passage, the city slowly came back to life. Tenants emerged cautiously from their shelters, whispering about the human who had guided them safely. Jadden Hera walked through the streets, checking on his neighbors and observing the subtle vibrations beneath the city with his device. Each pulse of information told a story, and humans were trained to listen carefully. Even Mavara, his landlady, moved beside him for part of the morning. "You were right," she admitted softly. "Your device, your instincts, saved people. We may have misjudged humans." Jadden was invited, not as a human tenant, but as an observer and consultant. His presence alone caused murmurs, but he ignored them, focusing on the task ahead. The council's leader, a tall, gold-scaled alien named Trellix, addressed him formally. Human, you have demonstrated unusual competence. Your device predicted the underground creature's movements. Your guidance prevented casualties. We must understand how your species operates if we are to protect this city in the future. That's the human way. That instinct drives our inventions, our strategies, and our decisions. Mivara leaned close and whispered, "You are changing the way they see humans." Holographic displays showed predictive paths, evacuation routes, and structural reinforcement plans. The engineers marveled at the precision and simplicity of his approach. "This is remarkable," said one engineer, a tall, transparent-skinned alien. "Your methods allow us to predict what our sensors cannot. Humans, you see things differently." "That's because we expect the unexpected. We plan for failure. We act before the worst happens. It's why humans survive." He worked tirelessly with the engineers to reinforce streets, adjust building supports, and map safe zones for residents. Each decision was informed by the device's data and his own experience observing patterns in the environment. By evening, the city council gathered again to review progress. Jadden presented the latest readings. "The creatures are not threatening right now, but their movement indicates potential risk. If we continue to monitor and prepare, we can prevent damage and protect residents. Acting before danger arrives is always better than reacting afterward. You survive not by dominance or force, but by intelligence, observation, and planning." The sand creatures moved slowly, but the patterns suggested that they were spreading across a wider area than previously observed. He realized the city might face repeated challenges if no long-term strategies were implemented. He went to his small apartment to rest briefly, but even there, his mind did not stop. The human instinct to observe, analyze, and prepare was always active. He checked the device, confirming that data collection continued, and made notes for improvements that could help the city long-term. The next morning, the city council convened again. This time, they had begun to see humans not as unpredictable tenants, but as problem solvers. They asked Jadden to advise on integrating his methods into city planning, emergency response, and public safety education. Jadden stood before the council and explained his approach. "Humans survive because we anticipate failure. We observe subtle signs in the environment, we plan for multiple scenarios, and we act decisively before danger arrives. These methods are simple but effective. If adopted, they could improve safety for every species in this city." New monitoring posts were established across the city, combining alien sensors with human-style predictive analysis. Evacuation drills were conducted in the outer districts. Residents were informed about the signs of underground movement and how to respond safely. Word spread quickly. Tenants who had once feared Jadden now spoke of him with admiration. "He saved lives," they said. "He understands the desert in ways we never could." Even Mivara admitted to herself that humans had a unique perspective, one that combined intuition, logic, and preparedness in ways that her species did not naturally possess. As the day ended, Jadden returned to the communal lounge. The device hummed softly at his waist, projecting subtle vibrations beneath the city. He watched the holographic patterns, analyzing every shift. The sand creatures were still moving, but the city was ready. A younger council member approached him cautiously. "Human, will your species help us permanently? Teach us to think this way. Sharing that knowledge can help others survive too. That is what makes humans different and effective." As he powered down his device for a brief rest, he reflected on the day's events. The city was safer now, not because of technology alone, but because humans had demonstrated foresight, intelligence, and decisive action. Aliens who had once feared him now looked to humans as examples of resilience and problem-solving. For Jadden, it was another reminder of why humans survived. They did not rely on superstition, force, or rigid rules. They relied on observation, analysis, and preparation. They anticipated danger, acted in time, and protected others when it mattered most. And in a galaxy full of unpredictability, that was a strength worth valuing. The morning sun rose over the desert city, casting long, golden shadows across the streets. Jadden Harrow moved through the corridors of the housing complex, checking his device at every turn. The vibrations beneath the city were subtle, almost routine now, but he knew better than to ignore them. Humans survived by noticing what others could not, by preparing for danger before it became real. Even Mivara walked beside him, her multiple eyes observing quietly. There was a new respect in her gaze. "You were right," she said softly. Your instincts, your device, they saved lives. Humans are remarkable. That's what made the difference yesterday. His presence caused murmurs, but no one questioned his authority. Trellix, the council leader, addressed him formally. Human, your guidance has proven invaluable. Your device and your methods have shown us that humans survive not by strength, but by foresight and action. We wish to integrate your strategies into city safety and planning. Humans prepare for the worst, observe carefully, and act decisively. Technology helps, but it is our thinking that makes us survive. You can adopt the same methods, and it will make your city safer. Jadden demonstrated how to combine alien sensors with human predictive analysis, showing how vibrations in the sand could reveal the movement of creatures, underground shifts, and structural weaknesses before disaster struck. A council member with translucent skin leaned forward. Your predictions are precise. We cannot fully comprehend how you anticipate patterns, but the results are undeniable. Children pointed at him with admiration, and adults nodded respectfully. Even those who had once feared him now saw humans in a new light. By afternoon, Jadden led a demonstration for emergency responders. Using his device, he mapped vibrations beneath the city in real time, predicting potential weak points and possible movement paths for sand creatures. Engineers reinforced streets and buildings according to his projections, and residents practiced evacuation drills along safe routes. "This is remarkable," said one engineer. "We can prevent disasters before they happen. Humans, you think differently. You act before the risk becomes reality." "We act in advance." Mavara appeared at his doorway, her gaze thoughtful. "Human, the city owes you more than thanks. You have changed how we see life, how we plan, how we survive. You have proven your value in ways we did not understand before." Predictive analysis, combined with reinforced structures and informed residents, would ensure safety even if creatures came closer in the future. He powered down his device briefly, resting his hands on its smooth surface. Humans survived because they noticed, they acted, and they protected others in the process. That instinct had saved hundreds of lives and reshaped how aliens viewed humanity. The next morning, the city council formally adopted the human methods. Monitoring stations were built across the settlement, combining alien technology with human predictive thinking. Training programs taught residents how to observe subtle signs in the environment and act before danger arrived. The phrase mini Shai-Hulud became a term of respect, referring to human ingenuity and foresight rather than fear. Jadden walked through the city with Mavara at his side, observing the changes. Streets had been reinforced, monitoring stations established, and evacuation routes clearly marked. The city felt safer, not because danger had disappeared, but because humans had taught others how to anticipate it. Citizens greeted him with smiles and nods. Even young children asked questions about how the device worked and how humans thought differently. Jadden explained patiently, showing them simple patterns and concepts. "Humans survive by noticing what others miss," he said. "We prepare for the worst and act before it arrives." Humans did not wait for disaster, they acted. They noticed patterns, prepared solutions, and guided others to safety. Strength alone did not matter. Intelligence, foresight, and decisiveness did. And for the aliens of this city, that lesson had changed everything. Mavara stood beside him, watching the desert with quiet admiration. "Human, your species is extraordinary. Not for power, not for strength, but for thought, preparation, and action. You have shown us a better way." Structures had been reinforced, residents trained, and predictive monitoring established. The lessons humans offered had reshaped the city, turning fear into respect and uncertainty into readiness. Jadden looked down at his device one last time before powering it off. The small cylinder had sparked fear, then skepticism, and finally respect. It had been a tool, yes, but also a symbol of human ingenuity and foresight. Mavara watched him with a smile. Perhaps one day the galaxy will see humans as we see them now, not strange, not reckless, but essential. That is why we endure. In the quiet darkness, Jadden reflected on everything that had happened. Fear had sparked suspicion, suspicion had caused panic, and panic had revealed the strength of human thinking. Humans did not rely on legends, fear, or blind rules. They relied on observation, foresight, and action. The city slept, safe for the first time in years, not because threats had vanished, but because humans had taught the inhabitants to act wisely. Jadden Harrow, with a small device and a clear mind, had shown the galaxy why humanity endured. And as the night deepened, the desert whispered beneath the stars, carrying lessons learned and respect earned. Humans had survived another challenge, not with brute force, but with thought, preparation, and courage. And that was the greatest strength of all.